Welcome to another episode of the Flashback Cartoon Hour. I'm your loving bald host with the most from coast to coast, Nick. Let's force it, Lascola. And here with me today is my co-host,
Andrew Primetime Napier.
And a very, very special guest star for us, a guest host from the Wizard and Bruiser podcast, Mr. Jake Young.
If I see you doing a nickname thing, so like I'd like to be Jake Lord Pump Young if I can. Just spreading my illicit street grapes all over the inner city.
Mr.
One of the most
Lord
absurd
Pump.
characters. I love it.
Oh man, so it's like, you know that Lord Pump can never rule the world, right? Because like if he goes to Chicago, he's getting blown out immediately. Right? I was thinking about that on my way over here. I was like, Chicago's that's his weakness right there, the Windy City.
Listen, are we launching into it already? Is there like a preamble? Is there like
you on Wizard and the Bruiser, you always do kind of a gush at the beginning of the episode. So I was going to ask if you had any gush, because I kind of learned about this show later in life, more about this and a little bit when we were researching Savage Dragon. So I'm curious to see your end of it.
So the show we are discussing today, by my own request, is Ultraforce. A C-tier superhero team from the height of the comic speculation boom of the early to mid 90s. It was produced as a syndicated show, so this could have aired at like Sundays at 6 a.m. It could have, aired, this is not the Fox box. This is not one Saturday morning. This is some like
kids WB.
This is this is like if a UPN affiliate has a gap in its schedule, you might be able to see Ultraforce. And for the past couple of years, I've been doing this Twitch stream. It's the watch along meta is what a lot of streamers call it, where basically there's very little oversight on what shows you can just kind of stream as long as you're just like kind of yucking it up alongside. And I wanted to do that on YouTube, and it turned out pretty much everything on YouTube was locked down from a copyright perspective. Wanted to watch, like, hey, let's watch an episode of Tailspin. The whole stream would get taken down. Rightly so. I do not own these things, but once in a while, I would find a show and it was kosher. It was fine. Nobody had it in the system, so to speak. And as I kept exploring and trying to, and like, as things got more and more obscure as I was hunting for shows that would not trigger the single most omniscient content awareness database in the history of mankind. The show became the cartoon dumpster, because all we could watch was shit tier shows so awful and unprofitable that nobody could possibly even care to claim them on YouTube. And it turned out this one distributor, this one company called Bobot, or maybe you knew it as the BKN. They just, none of their shows triggered anything at all. And I immediately started looking into these shows. And when we first started watching Ultraforce, it was a beautiful dream. The Wildcats show got tagged. We tried watching Wildcats, got taken down. We had to go with tier. I wanted to watch X-Men.
Yes.
I wanted to watch X-Men, the animated series. And also doing an episode about this show now that X-Men 97 has cemented itself as one of the greatest pieces of like superhero media ever made.
Ever.
Yeah. So here is what was the copy of the if we're doing the multiplicity thing, this is one of the fucked up clones that's like wrong. This was Ultraforce, Malibu Comics version of trying to cash in on this superhero animation boom, distributed by Bobot. And every episode was such a clusterfuck of bizarre character designs, weird edgelord characterizations, just so many familiar tropes, but everything's a little bit off, and every episode is 90s as hell. So like they're trying to talk about like street gangs and like evil Hollywood agents and this is from the era. This is from the era where every superhero had a twin word compound name. Everyone was like Bloodshot and Chop House and Hard Crack and like
Hard Case and Harbinger, and you're like, what the hell?
I don't think that one. Harbinger.
It's a Harbinger. I don't know. I'm trying, Nick. I tried to get you back.
I appreciate you,
but
I'm just derailing things.
No, it's fine. But it just immediately takes you back watching this show to the excesses of this comic speculation boom era, where the combination of aging boomers like realizing that all of their beloved comics were basically tossed out the door, seeing that old Spider-Mans and Supermans were now worth money, and eager publishers trying to cash in on that, where just like people with stock portfolios, people with houses, people with like in every other respect a sound financial like life, just started gobbling up all of these shitty comic books because they were issue ones, and by the transitive property of number one comic book plus time equals $1 million, just bagged and boarded all of this bullshit. People made millions. There was the Image Comics boom, and Malibu was up there along with, what was it, Eclipse, I think, Valiant.
Yeah, so I was actually on my ride to here from my dad's house. I was just listening to a behind the scenes panel thing at, I think it was WonderCon, and it was the Ultraverse creators, and they had mentioned that Ultraverse first started getting created in 1986, and their biggest competitor at that time was Valiant, which was weird to me because when you really think of the big four, you think obviously Marvel, DC, and then for me, I would say it would be Image and then Dark Horse. So to hear things like Valiant, Eclipse, Malibu kind of sneak their way in, you're like, oh my God, dude, I forgot all about them.
Fantagraphics.
Oh, Fantagraphics, Dark Horse, they're at least like, they publish like real stuff, or at least like creator, single writer artist kind of indie stuff. But like Valiant and Malibu for a good part was just like churning out like, hey, superheroes?
Yep.
What if they were a little bit worse with talent that we paid less, but they get better on the back end? Like,
listening to what they had before they even created the Ultraverse, it wasn't much. If anything, I would say I think the big claim to fame was the Men in Black comic book. And that was like weird. All they had. And then they were like, you know what? Let's make a superhero team that rips off just about every other superhero.
When I know you do a character by character breakdown, but it is so easy just to plug each of these characters with an existing.
Oh, and I was definitely going to do
playing that game.
Yeah. We were playing it earlier.
So it's just every episode was a unique gift, whether it was they introduced a bizarre villain who just looked like absolutely disgusting, whose motives were indecipherable, or they would do a backstory thing where, like, for some reason, we're following the character of Prime, who's like this twerpy little kid that covers himself with goo and becomes a big burly man. And it is and at the time, I understand they were going for biological horror, but seeing just how like Freudian and upsetting the image of this kid just being like, need more goo. Why can't I use my goo? I need to with my goo.
I have to focus. Oh, and then he makes those weird noises, and the goo goes all over him. You're like, what's happening?
Villains that are like, I want to eat your boy goo. Give me your goo. And it's just like, you're just from an adult perspective through the lens of time. This show is so entertaining.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's ultra entertaining.
It's very surprising how entertaining it was. I mean, it's not a great show. I'm not going to put it up there in the A classers, but like you had said earlier, definitely C tier for me personally.
I would trying to think if it came down to watching one of these episodes, I think they made 12 of them in all, 13.
Mm-hmm.
If it came down to one of these episodes or an episode of X-Men, the animated series, where by the later seasons, things got a little rough.
Oh,
Things got a little the animation quality fell off. The plot lines got convoluted. Things got a little bit they were losing a little bit of that magic that they had in those first couple of seasons. I would pick this and for raw entertainment value.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like The Room in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah. I would love if Tommy Wiseau just voiced one of these characters.
I'm pretty sure Tommy Wiseau did voice at least 3 of these villains.
Prime, you're tearing me apart. So let's get into it a little bit, right? Ultraforce is an American-Canadian animated superhero television series based on the Malibu comic series of the same name. It ran on the USA Network from October 15th to December 31st, 1995. The series only has 13 episodes in total. Each episode ran for about 22 minutes.
The series was co-produced by both Deke Entertainment and Bobot Entertainment. It ran as part of the USA Action Extreme Team programming block, which we actually talked about on our Savage Dragon episode. Check that out. And other shows in the block were Gargoyles, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm. That's one name. So came out as 2 there. Exo Squad, Wildcats, Mighty Max, Sailor Moon, and of course, Savage Dragon. As I mentioned, go listen to that episode. I'm on it, and it's awesome.
Not a bad lineup.
It's not. I
Pretty
mean,
cool.
Mortal Kombat. Even as a kid, I was super disappointed in that show. But that's just because, it's Mortal Kombat. How do you turn that into a kid show? But the rest of them, Gargoyles. I liked the Street Fighter show. Exo Squad is another
Exo Squad's incredible.
Yeah, they called it the American anime because it came out. They created that to specifically combat all the newly dubbed anime that was coming over. Wildcats we talked about. Mighty Max I've heard of, never really got
Mighty Max
into
is very good. It is actually really well done. The writers have this incredible eye for tropes and homage. So every episode is is a pretty good take on a classic story. So these transports to the moors of Scotland and fights a werewolf. You get that good classic Celtic horror vibe. It's kind of interesting how
is
well
it based
done
off of anything?
It's based off the Polly Pocket for Boys toy line.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. It was Polly Pocket was a hit.
They Mighty Max.
Mighty Max,
great.
Which was instead of little dollies, little action figures. And it's they made more episodes than there were sets, but you could do a 1-to-1. You're okay, this is the Snake Dungeon set. They're doing the Snake Dungeon episode.
Which is cool. Play out the episodes. Now, what about Savage Dragon? Did you ever check out any of that show?
I did not. I actually have not gotten to it yet. I'm eager to because as part of the Cartoon Dumpster stream, I'm always looking for good anachronistic cartoons that kind of really speak to their era.
Yes, I highly recommend it. I think it would fit in. I'm not sure how well it will go with your copyright stuff. I don't think very badly.
Oh, I've since jumped to Twitch and they do not give a shit at all.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, perfect. That's good to know, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
In theory, I could watch better shows, but I'm sticking with
it's half the fun.
Yeah.
Half the fun is to analyze the bad ones. Savage Dragon, I would say season 1 was on the rougher side. And then season 2 is where they kind of get an upgrade in the animation and the voice acting is a little bit better.
Nope.
Many different writers from both the X-Men and the Spider-Man animated series also wrote for this show. These include such talents as Robert N. Skur, Marty Eisenberg, Martha Moran, Doug Booth, and Richard Mueller. And it's funny because throwing back to you, Andrew, I was listening to our old episodes and we mentioned Doug Booth and we were kidding around that no one knew who Doug Booth was. And we in the
Doug Booth,
episode,
just throwing him under the bus
we were
again.
like, Doug Booth? Oh, everyone knows Doug Booth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you remember that part. Both well-known comic book writers, Len Wein and Steve Gerber, also helped with story writing for the series, which is kind of crazy when you think about how clusterfuck of the episodes were, if that makes sense, like how the plot would run. But listening to it, it sounds like they really just kind of went like, hey, here's an idea we have for this character. What do you think? And they were like, sure.
Yeah, if you look in the credits, it always says inspired by
Steve
Gerber, something like that. Like very little credit given, probably purposely so.
So God, it's always neat. Like sometimes you'll be watching stuff like an old episode of G.I. Joe or Gem and the Holograms or something, and you'll see like, oh, this episode was written by fucking Marv Wolfman. That's fucking rad.
Yes. All the time. I would say Steve Gerber is the one that pops up more than anyone that I notice.
Yeah, he definitely got into the animation biz at a
like
point because he was done. A lot of people were done with comics at a point, just being like, I'm getting ripped off. My art isn't being treated the way I want it to. Like, I'm just done with this business entirely. And they all went to animation and cartoons. I feel like Len Wein was half in that camp as well, because like he was doing a lot of I don't know of a lot of long running series by Len Wein. Like he sort of gets in and creates stuff, and then he's like, all right, you guys do that, and he's on to the next project. So he just seems like one of those guys who's got his hands in everything.
How long was he on Swamp Thing? Because he worked on Swamp Thing, right? Before
he created
Alan
Swamp
Moore.
Thing, but like, yeah, exactly. He worked on it before Alan Moore. It's like Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. Like
came in.
He definitely created it though.
Yeah.
He's passed off. He created Wolverine, but like you don't associate Wolverine with Len Wein necessarily.
Oh my
true.
God.
Yeah, that's true.
I fucking forgot about that.
Yeah. Him and oh, now I'm blanking on the guy's name.
The artist?
Yeah, Dave something. He was the
Dave
artist
Cockrum,
on
right?
Yes.
It has to be Cockrum.
Yes. How could I forget Cockrum?
So I guess it's just this weird pastiche of like this shining moment for the comic book industry where they were just printing money. This was the boom times. This was at this point in history, more comic books were being published than at any other time before or since. So there was just a lot of free floating capital, a lot of deals being done, and a lot of talent being tapped for these media properties, even Ultraforce.
Yeah, it always surprises me the extent of it. Like the toys and things. Like there was a toy for that Barbaric from the Savage Dragon series. I'm like, it's just the amount of little things that are from like weird TV shows that are like that was in the toy aisle. Like it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, or just like how long I've owned such comics like Freak Force and like Cyber Force or anything that ends in
Any
force. Yeah, they're especially in the 90s,
X-Force.
Extreme.
I feel like X-Force started it all.
I had no idea who these guys were for the longest time. And then now that we do this show, it's like kind of cool that I'm finally learning who they are, where they belong to, and which are the good ones and which are the bad ones.
Steve Gerber is one of the good ones, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He was a part of the early indie movement. Like he was doing indie stuff in like the 70s and stuff.
It's hard to try and build up Ultraforce as this testament to
good comics.
Yeah, you can, if anything, you can only build it up as the testament to the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk about just how 90s this show is?
Absolutely. Shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads everywhere. I mean, Hardcase as like the leader character has these, the massive golden shoulder pads, the prerequisite cool 90s ponytail.
My God. Yep.
He like the chains and like locks on his like costume in order to prove that he's like he's tough. He's
as Todd
grizzled.
McFarlane said,
He'll
the kids love
bust some
chains.
heads. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the one that has like the sad backstory. His entire first team was murdered, and now he's the lone survivor.
Yeah, but he's
Which is
also
Cable.
an incredibly wealthy movie star and
Yeah.
celebrity who lives in a beachside mansion and has like girlfriends over.
I was reading a ton of I had like 5 different websites up, and I was reading all their descriptions of Hard Case, and every one of them was like former struggling actor who lost his team and then went back to acting. I was like, so his team died, and he can't get over it, and he's like, well, I might as well be a shitty actor.
It's not the money, meat brain. I lost good friends, Contrary. The best. I'm not your man.
Well, if we're talking about the first episode, we get flashbacks, and he lost his entire team to a combination Transformer Terminator Xenomorph named Enemy.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the letters NME.
Yeah. Oh my God. When I finally figured out how they spelled his name, because I watched it with subtitles on, I was like, it all makes sense now.
The link it makes sense. The link you sent me had Spanish subtitles, so every time they mentioned it would be enemigo.
Yeah. Jake, the best version that I could find that was free on YouTube was all Spanish subtitles. And
you should have asked me. It's completely free on Tubi right now.
Yes,
oh, really?
They do, but they put like 4 different like commercials in there. So if you want to go old school, Tubi definitely has that. I was watching it on Tubi last night. Really good quality. If you're kind of really with the ADHD like me and you don't want to sit through the commercials, then I would recommend this Spanish.
It's called Universal
playlist.
Series TV. They have a whole bunch of random playlists of 80s cartoons. All with Spanish subtitles.
All with Spanish subtitles.
Yeah.
Sorry, you go, Jake.
Oh no, I just want to talk about these characters. I just want to talk about so yeah, we got a Hard Case, we got a Prototype.
Now this is the way to start the day. So where's that missile base?
Who's like the Iron Man of this team.
Oh yeah.
But he's
the way cooler Iron Man.
He's way cooler because his name's what's it, Rico or
Jimmy
Ruiz.
Yeah.
He's from the streets, and he's got a mamacita back in the old neighborhood. But they he constantly gets taken out. It's really he does nothing in this show.
Yeah. Oh my God.
For
literally
real.
nothing. Even in his own episodes, I expected him to do a lot better than what he was contributing. They're like, without your armor, you're nothing. He's like, I'm something without my armor. I'll show you.
I'm sure it was animation budget restrictions because the very tiny amount of movement that involved him flying around is just ridiculous. They had the flames underneath him just static the whole time, just following along next to him.
And you know what irked me was when you white out the eyes, that had a cool look to it. So when he didn't have pupils, but then. And they do this with Iron Man, even in the comics. Randomly, they'll just draw his eyes and pupils in the suit. And then he kind of looks a little on the goofier side when that happens. I'm like, no, just keep it all. It's like with Batman and everything. Just keep it all white behind the eyes. That's a cool design. Don't give me that. I don't want to know what color his eyes are. Don't give me any of that.
Another character in this show that baffles me constantly is Contrary.
Wait, I brought you here because the Ultra situation is getting worse. Unless we band together to control other Ultras.
Who is this seemingly all-knowing psychic woman who floats around on a big yellow chair exactly like Professor X.
Oh, yeah.
So it really feels like they're what if Professor X was just a hot lady?
Exactly.
Around episode 4 or 5, she just gets up out of the chair and is walking around.
Laziest leader I've ever seen in any. She could be out in the battlefield, but she's not.
Yeah.
Turns out she's actually from the Wally universe.
It's just
she's just used to it.
just watching her team get absolutely spanked over and over again, doing nothing when she could super easily turn the tide of battle.
Because
also
their
Professor
teamwork
X to a
is
T.
well, they're all shitty versions of it. So I came up with that, contrary, shitty Professor X.
Anyone can see you're no kid.
Mhm.
Topaz, shitty Starfire.
Thank you. The Queen of Gwendor can speak for herself.
Pix is shitty Jubilee to an extent, and we'll explain that in a little bit.
Bunk, Hardcase. You won't let me do it because you think I'm too young.
Ghoul.
Name's Ghoul. Pleased to meet you.
Ghoul is, I would say, he's
Like Dr.
my
Bones from
favorite.
Outsiders.
Yeah, he's kind of like unique, and he's almost like a precursor. Jake, I know you follow One Piece, and I was bringing it up to you earlier. I was like, he's kind of like a proto to Brooke in a sense, because he's sitting there constantly making jokes about how he's already dead.
Just rescued you from a grave situation. I do speak from firsthand experience.
They're like, look what your eyes. He's like, I can't, no eyelids.
Ghoul, it's rude to stare.
Hard not to, without eyelids.
I like Ghoul. Ghoul has the least, he's the least of a mirror to any other character, at least in the canon that they were like doing this in. His power set's very weird. He just like, if there's dead stuff around, he can like talk to it or do necromancy kind of things.
Yeah.
Like, he's very ineffectual in a battle. So he is kind of the point of view character that just, and he has this like real Catskills ha-cha-cha-cha delivery the entire.
Yeah, he's the quippy one. He's the one who gets the jokes in.
You read the minds of the dead.
Actually, I prefer comic books.
And the one thing I like about Ghoul is they kind of put a lot of pressure on his back because they make him the glue to the team. So usually in each episode, it would be about that main character, but also they'll throw Ghoul in there as like the backup. So this will be a Ghoul Prime episode. This will be a Ghoul Pix episode. This will be a Ghoul Prototype episode. He's kind of the one that they constantly throw around with everybody.
He is the most likable on the team, I would say. Absolutely.
For sure.
God, you mentioned Topaz, who also like you said who did you compare it to? Starfire?
She gave me more Starfire vibes than she did Wonder Woman vibes because she is like a alien warrior queen lost in space, we'll say, lost on Earth or something like that.
Yeah. But like her whole deal is that she's from a matriarchal planet. I'm sorry, Gwendor, the female planet of Gwendor. And
they're all named Gwen.
Yeah.
And because her name is Topaz, she's the queen because she managed to get a name other than Gwen. And
yeah, exactly.
She is the only one that has shown up in the MCU thus far.
Really?
If you look it up, they use the character Topaz in Thor Ragnarok. It was either Love and Thunder or Ragnarok, but if you look it up, you can find Topaz in there.
Oh,
that's
weird.
Crazy.
That is, I'm looking it up now, and that is, I mean, the character is very much hot alien queen, and now she's this tattooed warrior, like brick house. That's awesome. But like she gets taken out, like her whole deal is she will say something like, "Out of the way, incompetent man animals."
Please, puny male, or suffer the wrath of the Queen of Gwendor.
Go back to your Hercules movie, babe.
I am not a babe.
And then just get like zapped in the back and just immediately is out for the rest of the episode.
I got this. Boom, boom, boom. Knocked out.
Yeah. And then, oh God, who are we? Oh, Prime. We talked about Prime, the boy with the goo.
You stop calling me kid.
I guess he's our point of view character. I know at the time he was a very popular character, at least, during the Wizard magazine years.
He started the whole Ultraverse. When you look at it, it started off with Prime issue 1 and then kind of went on from there. And I don't understand him because to me, he's even douchier Captain Marvel.
And you, lady, let's get one thing straight. Prime doesn't need rescuing from anything or anybody.
Fawcett Comet, Captain Marvel. Me and Andrew were talking about that. AKA Shazam to the younger listeners, which is like lately, they tried to make Shazam a little more 2D and a little more, it's got more of a comeback, and he's a rough and tough street kid. And they kind of did the same thing with this guy, Prime. But man, even when he learns a lesson and you think he's going to be okay now, he just comes right back and he's like, no, I'm still a dick.
No one tells Prime what to do.
Yeah.
God, that episode where he gets like an even gnarlier 90s reboot where he gets the long hair and the spikes and the chain.
He had
comes
a
out
name.
looking like Nomad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So each Prime form has a different name, and that one was...
The name is Rogue Prime.
I can't think of
Rogue
it right
Prime.
now. Rogue Prime. Yes, it was.
Sounds like an
I know
energy
something.
drink, but okay.
Yeah, I have a Rogue
Sounds
Prime
like
right here.
an attempt to sell extra toys to me. They were like, you know what? We have Prime.
Oh,
what
for
else can we
sure.
do? Rogue Prime. Oh, that's
You know,
good.
The worst thing that was like definitely trying to inspire a toy was the hard case, like his flying suit thing that was like all rigid and awkward looking.
My God. Yes.
Like it was cut from the floor of the Centurions. It was
Yes.
I'm like, you guys definitely created that in plastic first, and then they're like, all right, this is what it's gonna look like. Do that.
But yeah, no, it's just this team of 90s derivative characters and their adventures, and everything is just laden with some kind of like ripped from the headlines adult seriousness, whether it's the indigenous fire people trying to retake their colonized land of the entire surface of the earth, or it's street drugs with the Zook line, or it's manipulative music producers trying to warp the minds of the young. It's every single one is like, and then I don't even know what the fuck is happening in the Nightman episode, but it's my favorite one by far.
Oh, yes. And I'm going to go in a few minutes to like different episodes that we do recommend to the listeners. Real quick, Andrew, why don't you do you still got the notes up?
I do, sir.
So why don't you hit Steve Englewood and what he is into the Ultraverse and all that?
Steve Englewood was from the hood. It's Englehart.
Oh
Steve
my
Englehart,
God,
who created the Ultraverse for Malibu Comics and also created Nightman and the Strangers, wrote via his personal website that the two-part finale of Ultraforce, Everything That Rises Must Converge, I believe that's what you're talking about, Jake, and Jumping at the Boneyard was intended to be a backdoor pilot for a Strangers animated series. However, the plans to make the Strangers series was canceled due to Marvel Comics purchasing Malibu Comics. Kind of.
And that's just a link right next to it that I have to Steve Englehart's website where, you can actually fact check that, because he was the one who was like, yeah, we had this whole plan, and then they sold Marvel, and then they just kind of scratched the whole thing. And then we had talked a little bit about the toy line by Galoob, which is
Galoob.
Yeah. Do you know their toys at all, Jake?
I was going to say, aren't they the Star Wars guys? But no, that's Kenner. Were they the Micro Machines guys? I think they were the Micro Machines guys.
They do have a very Star Wars feel to them when you actually look at the toys themselves. The packaging and everything has that little Star Wars toys vibe to them.
Oh my god! Shadowfire, Nightman, Ultra Hero with Skybolt grappling hook.
The 90s extreme. Real quick,
my favorite derivative character ever was Adam Extreme from the X-Men.
Man. Yeah, I have like 4 of those Adam Extreme
his first appearance.
comic, but yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Oh my god, holy shit. When you mentioned like Rogue Prime and all like the toy derivatives, I was like, what's next? Arctic armor?
It's got to be in there.
It's real. That exists.
Yeah.
There's Polar Prime.
Is there Scuba Diver Prime?
All the Batman derivatives. That's what we're all thinking of, right?
Astronaut Prime.
Oh man, it's just so funny. I've definitely.
He did have a spacesuit though that like covered his face. That's definitely one of them.
And to tell you the truth, as a kid, I would have definitely been obsessed with these toys. These are something I definitely would have collected.
Honestly, I love Prime now. I found this so entertaining. I can only imagine what I would have thought of it as a kid. I don't know if I would have thought better or worse of it, to be honest.
I feel like as a kid, I probably would have liked it better looking at the point of view as a kid. But now that I'm going to be 31 on like either Monday or Tuesday, I feel like I really cannot connect to Prime. I just find him so fucking
So
whiny.
funny.
I find him so
funny.
whiny, dude. And so like, just shut the fuck up, dude. You're in a team full of supers that have done this shit for forever.
I'm sorry, they are
But
ultras.
nobody tells
They are
Prime what to
ultras.
do.
They are not
Yeah,
mutants. They are not metahumans. They are not supers. They are
Can we talk
ultras.
about that? Yeah, can we talk
Okay.
about that for
Not
a second?
megas either.
So looking at all the, the Savage Dragon cartoon and like
Freaks.
what are the freaks? They call them freaks. They refuse to
Savage Dragon
use
called them,
heroes. They don't call them heroes and they don't call them mutants. And I
Well,
believe
mutants was trademarked at the time. Like they
By
would get
Marvel,
in
right?
trouble if they calling them mutants. Yeah, which
So
is
was-
ridiculous.
so was superheroes. I think that was a dual thing between Marvel and DC. Only they could call their heroes superheroes.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Probably
and
from some
everybody
mafia
else-
bullshit from
Yeah.
DC.
Oh, well, without a doubt. But that's why when you look at it, you have freaks, you have ultras. What do they call them in Wildcats? Do you remember, Jake?
Oh, I forgot, but you're right.
I'm-
They also had a stupid name there.
Yeah, they
They're
must
called
have.
kittens.
Yeah, kitties. Watch out for our kitties. They got claws.
Okay.
I thought this had to do with the Toy Biz Supreme Court case, but that was in 2003. You know about that, right?
No.
No.
That Toy Biz, the makers of X-Men action figures and a bunch of other Marvel figures, kept trying to lobby to be exempt from tariffs that actually. So if your product is categorized as a doll, which is a representative human figure, it carried a 12% tariff tax. But if it was a like bizarre like monster, that was a toy, and that was taxed at 6 or 7%. So the literal toy company went to the United States. It made it to the Supreme Court and was like, "No, the X-Men aren't people. They're freaks. They're
They're different.
they're not
us.
like normal people."
This is
the
like an
judge-
X-Men storyline
I know,
taking
it's-
place in real life.
Literally. The judge just leans in and was like, "Sir, clearly you have not listened or watched any of these episodes because they are the same." That's funny. That's crazy. That made it all the way to the Supreme
Oh no,
Court.
I'm sorry. I looked it up. It was the United States Court of International Trade. Never mind.
Oh,
not the
okay.
Supreme
Yeah.
Court. But they
But you
did
know
get the ruling in their favor. The X-Men are not human. They are freaks.
That's
They're
incredible.
different. They're monsters.
And it explains so much why the huge Ninja Turtles ripoff boom happened, because all of them would have wanted to jump on that. Turtles aren't humans, they're turtles.
Oh,
Street
yeah.
sharks aren't humans, they're sharks. Extreme dinosaurs, the spin-off of Street Sharks, they're all dinosaur looking people. So it all makes sense that so many people wanted to go for these really, and when you look at the toys, they really look grotesque and weird. And
Speaking of, again, those are two other Bobot productions, and they are also incredible, entertainingly bizarre and awful shows to watch when you got a slight buzz going.
oh,
I think we've
know
watched
it.
Street Sharks, haven't we, Nick?
Oh,
I don't. I think we
Maybe not
watched
on
the-
this platform.
No,
but
no. I think
they're
we
just, like,
watched
together.
Yeah, just together. I think we watched the first episode of Street Sharks, but you were mistaken,
Oh.
Mako from
Yes, yes.
Savage Dragon as one of the characters from Street Sharks, and I had to be like, no,
That's
that's
exactly what that was.
Street
That
Sharks
just
is a
happened again.
ripoff of Turtles, whereas Dragon is a ripoff of like, that also is a ripoff of X-Men, because what they really wanted to do was the bigotry, right? Ultras are hated throughout the world. Freaks are hated throughout the world. The whatever Wildcats are, I'm sure they're hated throughout the world.
Kittens, we've gone over this.
My
the
favorite is
Wildcats'
that
whole deal is they were fighting like a secret alien conspiracy that had like made their
Oh.
way, like the government
Like
is
ROM.
run by like
Mhm.
gross secret aliens, and so they're using the force of the state to like help fight the Wildcats.
Yeah, and that was the thing about the Ultraverse, because like there wasn't a set villain. Like if there was a specific reason why Contrary was going around plucking these heroes and going like, there's going to be a danger, there's a reason why I'm collecting you, that's it. But you just have her collect them for the fire people, and then they're done by episode 3.
Yeah.
You would think maybe they would kind of be like, all right, the big world's threat is done. Let's all go our separate ways again. But
Well, there was sort of a bonding moment at the end of episode 3, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
No, should we go spoiler free on this? I don't know.
No, it's
no. One thing, as
if anything, we got to reveal as much as possible to entice even a single person to give this show a chance.
Oh, and Jake, one of my other co-hosts, Santi, has dubbed me Nick Spoils La Scola, because I get on here and I just spoil the shit out of things. But as I like our listeners what I hope is that they know the subject. That's why they're coming to listen to the episode.
Yeah, everyone knows Ultraforce. That's definitely that's a
Ultraforce
market worth
this,
going
Ultraforce
after.
that. I can't walk down the street without somebody new being like, "Hey, have you seen Ultraforce?" It's a obscure children's syndicated show. I'm sorry, no, it aired on the USA Network in 1995 for exactly 3 months.
Wait, really? It was 3 months?
It was. It
Incredible.
It was what, September, October, November, December.
That's
okay,
incredible.
4 months. My mistake.
Yeah.
4 months.
Yeah, no, but you were right.
A hell of a run.
Still, yeah. I mean, compared to all the other shows that were on there, I can see why it kind of got faded out. But
I can't personally.
You do love them. You loved
this was so
Spider
much
Woman.
fun.
You loved Spider Woman, and at that point, I was like, all right, Andrew, our our opinions might split at some points.
When you start off Spider-Woman and she is immediately fighting ancient mummies that have flying pyramids who are trying to destroy the world in episode 1, you're just, how can you not love that?
That sounds like incredible heroic adventures. That sounds like I'm in. I want this now.
Definitely check out Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman was, what did we say? It was one of those shows that was so bad it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it was just like they didn't know how to make a superhero cartoon, so they just made like a cartoon, like almost a la Scooby-Doo, and then they were just like, she's Spider-Woman. Oh, and also the world is at stake every episode.
and she had only been a character in the comics for like 2 years, and Spider-Man technically for like 13 years or something like that. Not even. When did Spider-Man come out? 1964,
3, 4, something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
around there. So like even Spider-Man hadn't been around for a while. But these shows are funny when you get into them and you don't know the heroes that well. I love how
there's always a random little kid sidekick who's just like annoying as fuck.
Yeah. I do want to say real quick, Catherine Disher and Allison Court both voiced main characters on the X-Men the animated series. Disher voiced Jean Grey on the show, and Court voiced Jubilee.
I actually know, before this conversation, I thought they just got a Jubilee sound alike, but no, it's literally the same character.
So did I. And I respected it more because this show was kind of like, hey, you know that really annoying part of the X-Men that no one really liked? We have one of those too, and we kill her.
More.
And that was that was the spoiler I was referring to from episode 3.
Yeah, I honestly that character is marked for death. I knew it from the second I saw her.
Really?
And she's not in the another derivative thing. We didn't talk about this. The opening theme song, which it's like a fucking Matryoshka doll of derivative stuff. First, it's the scream is Ultraforce, and then it's literally the Mortal Kombat. Ultraforce. They do the X-Men animated series thing where all the characters do like a little hero shot flyover while they blow past their like cool hero name, and Pix isn't in it.
Oh, that's true.
I never even caught that.
Yes, that is so true.
As soon as in those first episodes, they're like, and of course, there's Pix, our reliable tech expert. Like me, my chat, everybody was like, this girl is dead. She is a walking corpse. She's not in the opening. This is not going to go well for her.
And it's funny because Ghoul, just like you said, the minute you saw her, you knew you saw death around her. So did Ghoul. And did he try, man. And we'll go into that too.
She didn't even get an action figure. Galoob didn't even bother. There was never a moment where there was any attempt. She was the Morph. She was set up immediately to be. I think that was the same thing with Morph. I think in the opening of the original X-Men, Morph didn't get a little like moment in the intro, and then they're like, and then there's Morph. He's a member of the team too, and you're like, why didn't he? Why is he not why is he not a member of the team in the opening?
They had so many writers from X-Men come over. They had voice actors come over, and still this show didn't work.
Yeah.
I feel like there's non-union Canadians voice acting. You got it.
Yeah, fair enough. It was produced by a Canadian company, right?
Yeah. Co-produced.
Yeah. Fair enough. Because I know Canada has like crazy rules about like making sure Canadian artists get their dues, which is obviously great, but ends up in some interesting entertainment value sometimes.
But God, I don't know, man. I just really, I would just like be elated when it was time to watch an Ultraforce episode because you knew something beautifully like there a familiar. It was like it's like if you saw the kid that ate bugs on the playground when you were 7, like as an adult in the grocery store, you'd just be like, "Oh, Wormy Greg!"
Yeah.
He's so excited. So like just these concentrated 90s stupidity. Every time I come across it in this show, I get so just like giddy.
So did you know of this in the 90s? Was this like something that was on your radar, or did you find it for the dumpster?
It was, I remembered they did it, but 95, I was already, I'm trying to think, like X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series was like the kids WB. I was watching the name brand kids shows and these like ancillary kind of blocks on channels like the USA or the UPN or just these just like these side projects I just never got around to, especially because the comic book boom, the speculator boom was pretty much over by then, and it was a little late to the party to cash in on that flickering moment when maybe someone would care about Ultraforce.
Yeah.
So like I already was like, oh, like a child. As a child, I felt I was better than this show.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm too old for this. At 7.
Honestly, that's how I felt with the Dragon show for the longest time. All right, so let's go round table and rate the series. Jake, every episode we do a rating from F to A+. If you had to give it a definitive letter, what would you throw that?
I would say the experience of watching this show is a solid A-. I would say an A-. Getting to watch it under such specific circumstances where there was a, community of like 150 people immediately clocking all the weirdness happening, like building up jokes. I wouldn't say this is my favorite episode. Well, I understand that's a separate moment, but in the episode 4, Lord Pumpkin's Pie, when Prototype goes back to the old neighborhood and he discovers the illicit street drug Zooks, and all of these like former friends of his in this like dive bar / billiard, pool hall, just start going like, "Hey, he's saying Zooks are bad." And this mob of guys just start going, "Zooks, Zooks, Zooks, Zooks." And like, there's like room chatter, just like, "Zooks the best. I love Zooks." Like,
I'm zooking out, bro. I'm zooking out.
My entire chat just exploded with just the phrase Zooks, 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 Zooks.
We like Zook, see?
Yeah. More Zook. Zook. Yeah. Zook. 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 Zook.
And for months afterwards, it was like this primal chant of stupidity. And like that is such a special gift that only a show this dumb. And this is supposed to be their very special episode. That's right.
Yeah.
It's 1995 and drugs are in America. And it's really serious. And it's definitely not the CIA flooding our streets with drugs to fund illegal wars. And we're using it as an excuse to jail people by the thousands.
No, of course not.
It's so funny how many shows, especially doing this show, the flashback of like how many cartoons actually do this like episode derived around we have a drug that's not a real drug, but we're going to put it in as a drug. And we're going to have people get addicted to it. And the bad guys are going to be giving it to the high schoolers or whatever. And it's every single superhero cartoon has
usually
done
a steroid analogy too.
Yeah.
Like the drug usually makes kids like weird and lumpy and swole and gives them like rage powers. That's
the listeners, for you, if you haven't seen the episode, that's what Zooks does. It gets you fucking ripped.
And then they finally show what Zooks is, and it's grapes.
Yeah.
It's literally just like a bundle of oblong green fruits in a bunch. It's just and they squish and you eat the grapes.
Yeah. And then it just gets you super swole. Because I love that one of the first things that Prototype says to he's like flying around and he just sees his buddy and he gets down and he's like, whoa, dude, you're ripped. And the guy's like, oh, I'm fucking yeah.
Been a long time, man.
And mind you, like, they don't know that it's Rhea's underneath the thing, but somehow they do. I guess it's the voice gives it away. But like, he's wearing his full helmet and armor. And they're just like, oh, look at this fucking loser. You left to go be a hero.
Standing in a $1 trillion cyber suit, and they're just like, "You've changed, man." I'm saying this whole show is full of these surreal moments like this that makes it so entertaining, and I love it so much. So I'm sticking with A. I am sticking with A.
I feel like they have to. They shoved in the backstory of like Vibe from the Justice League, like exactly into his. It's like, all right, guys.
Well,
something that's not pulled from something
to
else,
another
please.
extent, they did Sludge, who I was doing a little bit of research. He seems more anti-hero than he is villain in the comics, almost more hero. And
the ex-cop, I think, who's addicted to Zooks.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he couldn't talk normal.
Now, Nick, I understand why Andrew is confused, because at least I'm going to say 38% of the characters on this show could be called Sludge. Between a bunch of the villains, there's a lot of oozes. I'm gonna say gels, just highly viscous substances permeate this show.
I have a feeling that comes from
a real toxic crusader vibe. You know,
I have a weird feeling that comes from Malibu's like whole coloring department thing, because like that's part of the Marvel takeovers. They have they had a really impressive digital coloring department, and they were like the first ones to be really good at that. And I swear all of the like Malibu comics from that time have that exact color green, like all over the place. Because they're like, look how good we can make this color.
Andrew, I know you only have till what, 1:45?
2:45, yeah, which is 2 minutes ago, but I can go a few minutes longer.
Okay,
so do you want me to give my rating?
Yeah, give a rating F to A+.
Only because I gave Spider-Woman an A-, I believe. So I'm going to give this show a B+ because I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't quite Spider-Woman. That blew me away.
You know, for me, I was teetering. I'm honestly surprised you guys went so high with it.
You're like C-.
As I've been doing my second rewatch, I was kind of getting a little more up there. I started off C- and I worked my way up to a C+, B-. And I think I am going to go B-.
All right.
It impressed me a lot. I was actually sitting there and I was like, wow, this is going to be a rough one. And I was like, on the edge of my seat. I was like pretty in what's the word I'm looking for?
Invigorated.
Yes, and invested in what was happening in the cartoon. I thought the animation was really fluent, and we've seen some bad stiff really animation. Good, yeah. And Jake showed me Tenko and the Guardians of the Gem, and that left such a bad taste in my mouth that I was hoping that wasn't what led this to me being like, wow, this show was so great. So that's why I had to
especially
rewatch
for a
it.
Deke production, which is infamous. The old joke I've heard from like old animation workers was Deke stood for did it cheaper.
Yes,
like
yes.
They really were hoping for this to be a flagship Batman the Animated Series, X-Men Animated, flagship show for this programming block.
Yeah, they definitely put in a few extra dollars because, like we were saying earlier, with Prototype, I just can't get over that. It was so static the whole time. Just looked like this picture moving around on the screen. Like,
yeah, and so that's another thing is that this gives Deke another like win, and they have so few.
Let's give it to Bobot.
Yeah. You can't even give it. It was like, what it reminded me, not of story and plot wise, but like how much it impressed me was we did an episode on the Karate Kid, the animated series, which was another thing that I think only made it about 12, 13 episodes. And the animation was really good. I would say this show topped that show. So for me, this is like probably one of my favorite Deke cartoons I've ever seen.
Wow.
That's if I could just jump in with one thing. I couldn't get over the repeated trope of Prime when he something happens where he all of a sudden is not Prime and he just recently became Prime, so he can't possibly become Prime again. And then he's like, I gotta tap into my primal force. And it's always just like, maybe if I concentrate
my goo reserves.
It's like every other episode, at least, he had an issue where he couldn't possibly become Prime again, and then became Prime again.
I liked it when Prime was like hiding in a shed and crying, and Hardcase like, "Hey Prime, what's going on?" And he just sees this like little kid covered in goo, weeping, and he's like, "Oh, Hardcase!" It's like so fucked up, and Hardcase has to be like, Well, young man, I understand what it's like. It's always tough when a boy becomes a man and he just starts expelling goo everywhere. And your secret's safe with me. I'll be looking out for you.
So that must have been episode 3, Armageddon, because it was at the end of like the whole.
I think it was 2.
it was 2. You're right.
Words.
Yeah. No. You're right. It was 2 because that's where like he's like Jake just said he's crying and Hardcase is like
covered in goo.
Hardcase like turned his back to Prime, and Prime completely turns to goo except his belly, and he just kind of pokes through. He like kind of pokes through, and then the minute he turns around, he's like, "Don't laugh," and Hardcase is like, and he's like, "I said, don't laugh at
me." You're a kid. You've changed into a kid.
Don't laugh, okay? Just don't laugh. No one is supposed to know.
Laugh? No. Now it all finally makes sense. You're just a kid trying to live up to being in a man's body. But not just any man, or any Ultra for that matter, but the strongest Ultra in the world. Unbelievable.
I said don't laugh!
I thought it was funny because there was literally not even a moment where it seemed like Hardcase was even close to laughing. He was like dead serious about the entire issue. Wasn't surprised by it, shocked by it in any way.
No, he had like huge like, listen, I may not be your dad, but I'm the dad who stepped up.
Yeah. I'm there.
But if I
where's your mother? He was like, he kept it together. I think he let out like a light chuckle after like, Prime had said something. And then Prime was like, I told you not to laugh. And then he was like, no. But like, it all makes sense now. You were acting like a little kid. And
the amount of times in that show they went, if you only knew. Literally cut to camera. I'm like, what is this? The Office?
Yeah. Which I never understood. Why not tell the rest of the team?
I
Like,
don't
what is
know
the
either.
purpose
I don't
behind
know either.
keeping that as a secret? There's no, you know?
I think it's just to create, just because like
Tension.
if Prime is the point of view character for the kid audience and Hardcase is obviously the coolest character that everybody loves because he's got a chain on his belt, then like it's supposed to be a Batman Robin kind of like,
Yeah.
Hardcase is like my real dad kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, oh, got
For
you.
sure.
Yeah. So, like stepfather kind of thing in
Yeah.
a sense.
Well, before I go, I have to leave you guys with episode 10 was my favorite. I couldn't even believe how
Ooh.
awesome that was with the guitar. And it was just
It's
so
called-
fun for me.
Episode 10, Pump It Up. Lord Pumpkin has returned, and we learned that Ghoul's name is Jonathan.
Yes. When he turns
just
to the
love
lady, he
that
goes,
that
you
was
can
the
call me
description."
Jonathan.
Yeah.
Anytime, Wit. And call me Jonathan.
But that's also the episode where he says they're listening on stage. He goes, I'm more of a dead man.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he said Deadhead, meaning
Oh,
that he
yeah.
was more
Same
of a
joke, same
Into
joke.
Grateful Dead. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Grateful Dead.
Isn't he great?
I've always been more of a deadhead.
That was a
And that's
good
the one with Rogue Prime, right? With the shitty hair.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, exactly. It just keeps getting better. It really does. Oh,
And
and I would be upset if I forgot to say this. Did either of you catch it episode 1 when they cut to enemies like visor, like first person view, and they look at Prime and he's got a teeny tiny skeleton inside
Yes,
the giant?
I noticed that. I noticed that.
It's my favorite little detail. I couldn't even believe that I saw it. I was like, oh my god. But all right, I really have to go now. It's been
thank you.
amazing meeting you. Seriously, this has been so much fun. I wish I could stay and talk for hours.
No, it's have a human life outside of talking about cartoons from the 90s on the internet.
Yeah.
Why?
Live the life I need.
Why?
Yeah.
I would so much rather do this all day.
Yeah. Andrew, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you, dude.
Absolutely. All right. See you guys.
All right. See ya. So, Jake, on that note, can you pick out a couple of episodes you'd like to
Well,
recommend?
first of all, the single greatest episode has to be episode 7, Night and the Nightman, in which we're introduced to character Johnny Domino.
So Hardcase and Contrary did try and failed. Contrary was right. I do need a new career. And Chrysalis needs to meet the Nightman.
Who is like struck by like he's in a trolley accident, a cable car accident, and gets I don't even quite understand his power set, but he looks like Gambit, and he looks like Gambit if he took CrossFit. He's just this jacked up dude in like John Lennon glasses, and it
Who
turns
plays the
out
sax.
he's a sax man.
Yes.
He's just an average jazz saxophonist. Whenever there is so many clips in the episode of him like in
Wailing.
his dungarees and leather jacket wailing on the saxophone, but they clearly couldn't get a saxophonist, so it's just bad synth. So it's like ping pong kong, ping kong, ping kong kong kong, ping
I'll
ping.
play a clip for the listeners right here of that too. That's funny. So the episode's called Night and the Nightman. Like you said, Johnny Domino is the latest Ultra to emerge from the cable car accident. He is, as he comes to terms with his new ability, Ultraforce are keen to recruit him, but he is more set on finding the evil Chrysalis, who is wrapping humans in cocoons and stealing their appearances. So I listened a little bit to the creators, especially Steve Englewood, talk about Nightman.
Englehart, you said it again.
Jesus, I keep doing that.
Compton, Long Beach, Englehart. Like you gotta break the cycle.
So Englehart was talking about it, and he was talking about the live action Nightman series too. And he was really funny when he was talking about it. He goes, "I had this idea for what if somebody could hear evil." And that was it. That's the premise. That's his powers. He hears evil. So like if you have evil intent, his mind can pick up on it. And that's about it.
And Chrysalis, the villain, can like change her appearance. So he's like chasing after all these people that are all her, and like nobody believes him, and Ultraforce is getting up in his grill, and it leads to this incredible like showdown in this hedge maze.
Tell me who you really are. You're not Hardcase or Ellie. You're not any of the people you've cocooned. Now show me what you are, you parasite!
I hope you like the way I look. Because I am the last thing you will ever see.
They wrap up the character, the day is saved, even though I think like it's one of those things that they did a lot in cartoons where like the villain actually had a legitimate beef, but the hero saved the evil businessman anyway. Yeah, and you're kind of left unsatisfied. You're like, no, wait, that guy actually did deserve to be killed by a bug woman.
Yeah, no, he definitely should have been taken out. It would have done better for everybody if that person was so bad, you just let it happen. And just maybe look the other way.
But then as they wrap up, it's Contrary and Hardcase talking about like, wow, what an adventure we've been on. I wonder, is this the last we'll see of Nightman? And they pan up to the top of a skyscraper, and against the full moon is Nightman in his full stupid 90s ass getup, and just pads everywhere, shoulder pads, knee pads, flowing hair, tattered cape, but he's still like jamming on a saxophone like a jazzy Batman, and it is the funniest fucking thing I've ever laid my eyes on.
It's so funny. That's what, honestly, it's literally one of my top 3 episodes. I was going to pick that too. It's specifically for that scene alone of him up on the rooftop.
Her father's cruelty and greed got him just what he deserves. Nothing. Where's Johnny?
He's right here. He saved our Where'd he go?
And I wish that we could just dub over the playing that they had and just do the dun, 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 because that would have been perfect. I was listening to, like I said, to the creator, and he was saying that he created, I think it was this guy named Shadow Man, and there was a lot of things that he wasn't allowed to do with Shadow Man. And he was saying, so Nightman is basically Shadow Man 2.0.
Was Shadow Man a blues guy? That was like another thing that they love to do, is give a blues guy superpowers.
Yes. Yep.
And I basically only remember Shadow Man because they had an N64 game back in the day.
Yeah. Oh, and Prime is the only one that got a video game, and I think it was for the Sega Genesis.
Oh, weird. Weird. I gotta look that up.
You're a Sega guy or a Nintendo guy?
No, I was
Jake?
a Nintendo guy. I missed I did have a Game Gear, but I completely missed.
Oh, the worst of all of them.
We did a whole episode on it on Wizard and the Bruiser. Check it out. Oh God, I can't find it. Whatever. I'm talking. I'm in the middle of a podcast. I can't go on a separate fucking tangent.
Tangent. So I guess I'll pick another one then. I will say that we had talked a good chunk about it, but I'm gonna lump episode 4 and 5 together. Lord Pumpkin's Pie and You Can't Go Home Again, because it is a 2-parter, and it's the last 2-parter the series gives us up until the finale. And that's like we were saying, Prototype goes home and he does his whole thing, has the beef. He's basically drawn into a war. Between Lord Pumpkin, who's trying to sell Zook on the streets, and this guy Marcello, who is the like main Falcone, I guess, of this series.
He's he's ultra Scarface. He's got ambition. He's like trying to muscle in on the old families, except instead of the Italians, it's a pumpkin with magic powers who can make steroid grapes.
And both of them are trying to bring Prototype onto their side of the gang war that's happening. And, there are drive-by shootings and stuff. I mean, it's that typical, they use lasers instead of real bullets on those cartoons. But those are really cool. And then just what they do with Sludge. Because him it was almost like it was just randomly thrown in there, but it was probably my favorite part of the episode. You really feel for him. He's a former cop he can't control his body. He's addicted to the Zook because it actually like allows his body to kind of form into a normal human shape only for like a few seconds. And then like he can't talk anymore. He starts talking like Bizarro, and then he needs more.
What happened to you, Hogue? How'd you get like this?
Long story, kid. I made some bad mistakes with some bad people, ending with a close encounter with some toxic waste. I'm sorry, Ruiz. It's nothing Persian. Parsonage. Oh, personal.
The Zook's wearing off again.
There's plenty more where that came from, Ruiz. Fucking knows.
He's just using you. Don't you see? Each hit is lasting shorter and shorter.
So that's episode 4 and 5. Those have about a 7.7 and a 6.9 rating on IMDb.
I don't trust those ratings, man. Who's like,
No.
there's no, who actually, I'm more scared of the people that spend actual, yeah, we've been talking about this show for about an hour, but like going out of your way for no reason to just be like, I think I'll go in order and rank every episode of Ultraforce on IMDb.
Episode, yeah. And I don't trust anyone's, I don't trust critics when it comes to movies. I don't trust everyone, especially when it's an opinionated thing. I always feel like I'm not gonna, I didn't shit on Madam Web until after I saw it.
I feel like when it's every critic, that's when it's that critic score actually does have some weight.
Oh yeah, well I went into Madam Web because I went into Morbius, and I was like, let's check this out. And me and my wife didn't hate it as much as the critics were giving it. I was like, you know what? What's his name from Doctor Who?
Matt. Wow, now I'm drawing a blank.
Yeah, whatever his name is. I thought he did a really good job as
Matt
the
Smith.
villain. Yes,
Yeah.
I thought,
great.
he really, he kind of kept that movie on his back more than Jared Leto.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of vampires, should we talk? I'll bring up the Rack and Ruin episode.
Oh my God, he needs that boy's goo.
He needs the boy's goo. He's like obsessed with Prime's goo, and obviously they can't show him eating people, which is weird because they do show people die in this show. So I'm always wondering what falls underneath what they can and can't show.
But he is vampire coated. He is absolutely he's got the fangs, he's got bat wings, he's got even like the widow's peak. He is a big spooky vampire man. And the only thing that seems to give him the most life force is, at first he's just like picking up goo off the ground left over from Prime's adventures.
and then he's
just like
this is good.
scooping it up, and it's like so unpleasant. And he becomes obsessed with getting the source of the boy goo. And he just, it comes down to a final confrontation. But it is pretty horrifying, especially with Prime as this like scared kid being hunted by this monster thing.
By this vampire monster. And we're talking like full gargoyle looking wings in the, you know what I mean? Like the shark teeth. And he almost is a ripoff of Morbius, especially when you think of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon Morbius.
Your outer covering was most nourishing, little friend. I salivate to think what delights your inner core must hold. I shall find you soon enough.
It's also, there's also this weird B plot where like, whatever, throughout the show, there's this government agency or like military branch that is trying to weaponize the Ultras.
Yeah.
And like Rune teams up with them to lure Prime out. But
and they get rid of him pretty early on, like that whole General what's his name from the whole
General Raider. Or you're thinking of Thunderbolt Ross.
Yeah, Thunderbolt Ross, and they give him that basically role. It's funny because I just did the 90s Godzilla the animated series show, and they have a general that's like that too in there that's also hunting down doesn't trust them.
I feel like we've talked about all the real heavy hitters, but
Yes.
even the lesser episodes still just have all these oddities and weird things that just make it worth watching. You know what? My least favorite is the 2-part finale. The way that they introduce the strangers, the way it's so
too
clear.
quick. Yeah.
They just
rushed.
it's another cable car gets struck by space lightning, and everybody inside it gets insanely like it's one of those weird things where the power set is so broad and so OP that you're like, I can turn all the air in a 1 mile radius around me into pure hydrogen. You're like, what?
Yeah,
That's insane.
And I'm going to call myself
conflict.
My name is Adam, but what was it? Adam Bomber? I think his name is Adam, though, not like Atom. It was so funny. I was like, oh, okay, wow.
I'm glad we got out of there before we hurt somebody.
Yeah. Now we've got these freaky powers, it'd be nice if we could actually control them.
Or at least find out why they were given to us by
the moon? How is it that we all seem to know that? I don't get it. 1 minute we're a bunch of strangers, and then all of a sudden we're fighting Ultraforce.
Ultraforce versus the strangers. I like the sound of that.
Those were so rushed. I do like the one where I'm trying to think of which one it is. I think it's a Veiled Threat, where Hardcase is having a real hard time. The only one who survived of the original squad before episode 1, before the formation of Ultraforce, is this girl called Star Blaster, I think. And she's the only one, because you watch the rest of the team die in his weird vision dream that he had. And she's in a coma.
Hey there, gorgeous. How's my lovely Linda today? It's been 2 years since the squad.
So, he's having this, he visits her every day and he talks to her. And Hardcase ends up falling for this woman named Vale, who is hiding her secret from him. And she has ultra abilities. Topaz and Gould think she is hiding something else and start to delve into her past history, revealing a lot more than what they expected. But my favorite is that at the very end of the episode, Hardcase goes up to Star Blazer's bed, and he basically is like, listen, I have a new family now. Peace. Just he's like, I gotta go be with them and handle them now, so I'm not coming back anymore. And as he walks away, I guess it's in the comic book too, she slowly has a little tear fall from her eye.
So she could hear him the whole time.
So it didn't work out with Vale, but I realize now I need to start living in the present. The Ultraforce is my family now, Linda, not the squad. I'll see you.
You okay, buddy?
I will be.
And I was like, what a douchebag. Why can't you go visit her anymore? Why you just can't go visit your friends, a part of the squad that you clearly have unresolved issues over?
It's somebody somebody saw an episode of Batman the Animated Series and was like, a weird bummer ending. That's what the kids want.
Yes,
a weird bummer ending. And it's done, like you said, so quickly, in the last 20 seconds of the episode.
Yes. Yep. So those are our recommendations.
I think we might have mentioned pretty much every single episode in the run. Each one has some little gift of nonsense.
Literally. And that was the best part, was that there's just 13 episodes. It's quick. It's easy to get through, because when I was going through that Karate Kid cartoon, that was not so easy to get to. Or when I watched Captain N and the Game Master, that was not easy.
Rough.
Oh my God, that was
when they introduced Game Boy. Holy fuck, those episodes are agony.
I was so excited because I was like, they introduced Link and Zelda from the Link and Zelda TV show. And I was like, all right, here we go. It's going to get better. And then Game Boy's there. And I was like, okay. So it is easy for you listeners to get through. At this point, Jake, thank you for taking the time, buddy, doing this for us. I'd love to have you back if you ever want to, if you can think of a cartoon you want to do.
Oh, I can think of several. Oh my God, I can make you watch Vampires.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
is that with the Y?
It's VAN-Pyres, and it is an early live action CG hybrid show that
Ooh.
features a team of cool teenagers that turn into car people that also are vampires.
Vampires. I'll definitely check that out.
Oh,
That
it's one of the
sounds-
most insanely awful things.
Now, is it
beautiful.
like when you say CGI, are we talking like Beast Wars to
worse than Beast Wars, worse than Reboot?
Oh, and I'm so glad Reboot is starting to get like more, not like I've heard you guys mention it a few times. I've heard a couple of other people mention it. Not a single person my age that I know knows Reboot. And I was like, are you guys sure? It was on Toonami. No one remembers this? What about
the Toonami run should have been the Bridge That Gap.
Yep, it was on Toonami, and right after that was the Real Adventures of Johnny Quest, where they go into the Quest worlds and they and they fight the thing. So that's another one that has weird CGI.
Vampires is on a whole nother level of I'm gonna be the guy that makes you watch the worst cartoons ever, because
it's okay.
That's like because as we wrap this up, please check out twitch.tv/puppetjared every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. That is where my grand experiment, almost a self-imposed Mystery Science Theater 3000 spaceship of satellite of love scenario, where we watch the most gobsmackingly weird, bizarre, lost, bad cartoons from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s.
And your reactions, the reactions of your listeners are funny. I was watching what was it yesterday? I was watching you list the Mario characters Puppet Jared would bang. Yeah.
That's available on YouTube. Yeah, you can
so
look
good.
that up.
So good. Any other projects you'd like to promote before you
Wizard and the Bruiser on Last Podcast Network, as well as Tears of a Clown. That's a new bi-weekly stream me and Holden McNeely do, where we bring on guests and we rank various things, whether that's the months of the year, every member of the X-Men, or coming up in the next few weeks, we're going to do RPG classes every week we have a different guest.
Yes. Ooh, I'll definitely check that one out, because as I get
also
older,
available on YouTube.
As I get older, RPGs, I was not a fan as a kid, and I just ADHD. I just didn't have the attention span for it. Now that I'm nice and medicated, I feel like I can actually sit down and focus, and not get into something that's not just Pokemon.
Nothing wrong with it, man. There's
nothing wrong
anybody who's like, no, I'm playing video games the right way is full of themselves. They're fucking video games.
Yeah, literally. And we'll pick a day and we'll go over vampires.
Yep. All right.
Then I'm gonna need to pick a cartoon for you to check out.
No, and it's probably gonna be good though, and that's not what I'm about these days.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking. There have been some, have you ever heard of this cartoon? It was called Hashimoto Mouse.
No. Ooh.
I grew up with this. My dad had VHSs upon VHSs of Hashimoto Mouse.
Oh, yeah. This is ancient.
Super ancient and educational and funny. And a little bit of action, because think of Tom and Jerry, but he does like kung fu to the cats all the time.
Yeah. Is this? Oh, okay. That makes, because it looked like this weird mix of early Japanese animation, but then there was definitely like this
Americanness to it. And as
it's
far
a
as
Japanese-born animator who worked for Terry Toons. That makes so much sense.
Yes, that's right. It was Terry Toons, dude. I couldn't remember which one it fell under. It was Terry Toons, because they're the ones that do the big bird in the diaper, right? Is that it?
Oh yeah, Mighty Mouse and
Mighty
Baby
Mouse.
Huey. I want to
Baby Huey. That was it.
Something, yeah.
And Casper. All right, Jake. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate this. I appreciate you dealing with my power lines catching on fire.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. No, God is trying to take us all out in due time. It's fine.
I cannot begin to thank you so much, and I would love to do this again. You're just really easy to talk to and nerd out, really.
It's all I do. It's all I can do.
It's-
if you have a relationship advice podcast, do not call me. I will not be as handy.
Hey, you know what? I just got married about 2 years ago, and I'm still figuring it out. The do's and don'ts will be there for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. But all right, yeah. Thank you so much. This was a great talk. I'm so happy I got to flip out over Ultraforce after all those hours watching it.
Jake, have a good one, brother. I appreciate it. I'm gonna unload all this and head home.
Thank you so much. Later.
Hey,
Thank you.
Have a good one, buddy.
From the era. This is from the era where every superhero had a twin word compound name. Everyone was like Bloodshot and Chop House and Hard Crack and
Hard Case and Harbinger, and you're like, what the hell?
I don't think that one. Harbinger.
It's a Harbinger. I don't know. I'm trying, Nick. I tried to get you back.
I appreciate you.